If you hated this book, just keep going. Hi everyone, today we are gonna be talking about my 5-star reads of 2022. So I actually only had 4. I had 4 5-star reads for the entire year last year. That's actually really weird because I tend to give a lot of generous ratings to many books. That's why it was weird to find out that I had only had 4 5-star reads, but we're just gonna go with it. Because it's such a small number, I'm also gonna talk about some honorable mentions that I'm gonna give to books that I really enjoyed and that I think of to this day, but that were not 5-star reads because they were just missing a little something. I'm gonna start with my top book of the year, which I think of every day, and I go back and reread and I look at the notes that I put and I look at my post-its, and it just makes me happy because every single aspect of this book was enjoyable to me. That spot goes to Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This was a really popular one. It was hyped all over TikTok, it was all over YouTube. I was honestly scared for this book because I thought, you know, I may not like it as much as I do Beach Read, which I preferred over People Women on Vacation. However, this book definitely had everything that it took to make my heart happy. I mean, just look at it. Every single thing about the characters and the plot and just the romance in the book, everything just worked for me. It spoke to me, and I never felt like a book had like my dreams and my hopes in it, and now I do. This one does. It holds everything from me in here. I know there was people who were a bit disappointed that it did not have book lovers aspect of it, like it wasn't like showing them being in love with books and in love with reading. It was more from the perspective of the publishing industry. That was actually one of my favorite parts. I really enjoyed seeing the sides of a book editor and a literary agent. I think that's what made the book complete for me. On top of the romance, which I think was amazing as well, their banter was great. The fact that they were kind of like, not exactly rivals, but they didn't really like each other at first. And the nature of their jobs, it all just worked so perfectly. If you hated this book, just keep going. Thank you. It was just everything that I've wanted in a book and more. There were so many moments that I laughed, so many moments that I loved. That's why I'm keeping this book in my top book of the year. And that's why I gave it 5 stars, because it was amazing and it is now my favorite Emily Henry book. My next 5-star read. Can you hear that? I really hope you can't hear that. I'm just gonna keep going. My second book of the year, which I don't have with me right now, and this is more like a, I mean, I don't have an order. Honestly, after Book Lovers, it's all like books I really liked, so it doesn't really matter. But the next book that I gave 5 stars, I actually read at the beginning of the year, I think February if I'm not wrong, which really surprised me because I did not think I would find a 5-star read in the second month of the year, and that is From Look Up With Love by Mariana Zapata. This book, I don't know what it was, but from chapter like 2 or 3, I was laughing and I wanted to tap and I wanted to annotate and I wanted to highlight. It just had so many good things, and it just went up from there. Everything about this book felt so amazing. First of all, the plot of the book, the fact that it's like rivals, ice skating rivals. I had been waiting to read a Mariana Zapata book for the longest time after The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, which I enjoyed, but it wasn't really like I was obsessed. I think my expectations lowered a little bit, so when I went into this one, I was not expecting it at all. I was not expecting to love the characters and love the plot and love the book itself. They are ice skating rivals. Their banter is top tier. I cannot explain to you how much I enjoyed this book. And not only that, but the fact that we got to see the inside issues that Jasmine had to deal with her family, and the way they saw her and how they were undermining what she did as an ice skater. It was just beautiful to see how her relationship with Ivan developed, even though from the very beginning, when they were rivals, there was still like some level of respect. But even then, I was still laughing out loud because of all the things that they said to each other and how they fought with each other. And so seeing that to how supportive they are at the end, I really love that. I would have liked that this would have been dual POV, because I feel like I would have added more to the book, because it was really one-sided towards Jasmine. We see her issues and her view and everything is from her side, which I think maybe took a little from the story. But other than that, I really love this book, and I think it's my favorite Mariana Zapata book to date. Granted, I've only read 4 books by her, and I know she has a whole list, so we'll see if another one tops it, but I don't see it coming. There was just something different about From Look Up With Love, and I hope that if you've read it, that you've loved it, because it's one of my favorites now. Now, on to my third 5-star read. This one, I really was not expecting. I was liking the books in this series. The third one I liked a lot, but I was really not expecting to connect so much with the main character in this book and to love the romance as much as I did. This book is Twisted Lies by Anna Huang. If you ask me, I think this is the most underrated book in the series. Well, after Twisted Love. I feel like this has been the one that most people put at the bottom when ranking the 4 books. I just don't get it. Precisely because of why people put this at the bottom. I've heard some people say it's because they felt like Stella wasn't really that active within the group of friends and within the other storylines in the other books. So when we got to her, people weren't really like waiting for her with so much excitement as the other characters. But I think it's precisely because of that I love this book so much. Stella is probably one of my favorite main characters that I've seen in a romance book, and there were so many things that I related to that hurt a little, but also made me love her even more and want to protect her even more. So basically, if you ask me, I'm biased. Also, people talk a lot about scenes where one of them's hurt and the other one's caring for them. This one's not exactly that, but has something really similar that I found so endearing. This made for a really solid 5-star read for me. And now my last 5-star read. I will say I also didn't see this one coming, because I felt like I had seen some mixed reviews of people who thought the books were average, not really enjoyable. Other people thought they were enjoyable but not really obsessed over them. So I wasn't sure how to feel about this series. I had only read the first book, but then I kept going and I really loved the second one, and then the third one is the one that really brought it home, and that is The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I did not think a mystery or a cozy mystery, does this one fit in the cozy mystery category? I'm not sure, but I did not think that this book would be at the top of the list for 2022. But really, when I started the second one and then this one, I could not put them down. Like, I just had to keep reading, and it's like, it's not exactly suspense, but it gives me like that thrill of wanting to find out the next mystery and the next clue and solve the next thing. I just really loved it, and I actually think this is one of the few books that would have worked perfectly fine and I would have enjoyed equally as much if it didn't have the romance plotline, and I don't say that of a lot of books, so that's saying a lot. Basically, this one was one I really enjoyed. The mystery of it all and the thrill and the romance. It was like a really fast read, really enjoyable. I couldn't put it down, so it's a page turner. I know for some people it went, they loved the first book, disappointed in the second one, and didn't like the third one. But I think mine was the opposite. I went upwards. Now we're waiting for the brothers Hawthorne. That is it for my 5-star reads. Now I'm gonna go into some honorable mentions. The first book from this list I also don't have with me because I didn't bring half the books I have with me. I guess I'll put the picture somewhere if I figure out how to do that, which hopefully I will, because if not, this will be a very disappointing video. The first book is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Some people think this book was really overhyped and they didn't enjoy it as much, or they enjoyed Terms and Conditions more. And I actually gave it the same rating as Terms and Conditions, which is a 4.5. But I've come to the conclusion that I think about Zara and Rowan more than I do about Declan and Iris. And I think just because they were the first book, and I feel like the fine print and Terms and Conditions are kind of similar in a way, in the way that their relationships develop. So because it felt like the first one, like the introduction to it, and I didn't have Terms and Conditions to compare it with, I feel like I enjoyed that one a little more. And also because I really liked how Lauren Asher explored some of the heavier themes through Zara. That's why I'm putting it here. My second book is one that I kind of already talked about, and that is Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. I gave this a 4.5, but the reason why this was not a 5-star, it's because of that one scene that I'm sure if you've read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's been like debate over this scene and whether it was really that bad or not. For me, it was something that made me uncomfortable. I could not read it. I had to skim through it and then keep going. I just couldn't do it, and it just kind of like ruined it a little for me. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it even after it happened and after everything was solved and after I finished the book. I still had like that feeling that was bothering me because of it. So that's why I could not give it a 5 stars. So it's saying 4.5. But other than that, the banter in the book was absolutely incredible. I loved it. I know there's people that think that it's cringy. I, for one, didn't find it cringy. I loved it. I do agree with the fact that the conflict or the reason why they were enemies was a little dumb. I think it was. I agree. However, I don't think that took away from the banter at all. I loved that it was not so much enemies to lovers and that's it. It was more like they were enemies, then they did what they did, and then there was moments like the picnic scene where it just felt like they were turning into friends, which I really enjoyed because I feel like they needed that. That's basically why this is in my honorable mentions. I'm gonna try to speed through this because I really don't know how long I've been talking for. Next up is I'm scared of this one. Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. So, despite the nickname that the main character had for her, which I really didn't like, the rest of the book I think was really enjoyable. Like a small town romance, which I love, and found family in a way. I remember I was reading this and I read this on my Kindle, and I did not expect to like this as much, and I finished it and I was like, oh my god, I want to keep reading. Next up is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I just realized I don't have any of these books. Like, I have some of them. Anyway, I think it was on Haley's channel from Haley Fan that I heard the description that this book was like a cupcake, and I 100% agree. I was giggling, I was laughing, I loved the romance between the main characters. I think it was just so pure and so sweet, and I definitely agree. If there was a book that could be a cupcake, it would be this one. Like, it is a cupcake. I think we're sticking with that description. The next one, I actually didn't think I had enjoyed it as much at first, which I know doesn't make any sense, because how will I not know if I enjoyed it or not if I'm done with it? But I had to sit on it for a while, and now that I think back on it, I loved it so much. It was so enjoyable, and I still think of the characters in some of the moments to this day. So I gave this, I actually never set my rating for Things We Never Got Over. That was a 4.2. And The Cheat Sheet was a 4.5. Good. I'm glad I remembered. The next book I gave a 3.8 at first, but I'm just gonna put it up to a 4 because it honestly is between a 4 and a 4.5. And that is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. So first of all, let's talk about the fact that I absolutely loved how the author approached the main character's culture and her heritage, because we got things that she did not translate right after they were said. Like, they were things said in Portuguese that she did not put in English, and I love that. Did I understand everything? No. I understood part of it because I know Spanish, and it is my first language, so I understood some things. But other than that, there was things that I didn't understand, and I loved that she did not include a translation, because I think that is so much more powerful and so much more relatable to people that know the stuff, that know the language, that have the culture. I feel like that's so much better, so more power to her. Also, the rivalry between these two was amazing as well, and that one I actually think is one of the books that does not start because of some dumb issue. I think there was some reason here for her to be mad and for her to try to trick him into things and try to make him mad and try to make things go bad for him. I feel like she had some reasons, some valid reasons. I love the development of the relationship, and I love the fact that they had to work together. So forced proximity, if you're looking for it or if it's one of your favorite tropes, I would really recommend this book. Wait, I have the next book. Hold on. So next up is Kiss the Sky by Kristen Becker Ricci. If there is someone out there who is looking for an academic rivals to lovers, look no further. This is it. Like Connor and Rose, they're it. They are the definition of academic rivals to lovers. I did not know that I enjoyed that trope as much, and now I do, because these characters had all my attention. Their banter, it was amazing, and I love the fact that it was actually academic rivals to lovers. They competed against each other. They hated each other. Well, they kind of hated each other. They were actual rivals, and I love that. The way this was done, I think this should be in the dictionary definition of academic rivals. I don't even know if there's a definition for that, probably not, but if there is, they should be in it. They're it. This is as far as I've gone into the Addicted series, and their book is my favorite for now. I gave this a, not me looking at my list, I gave this a 4.2 because there was still some stuff that I didn't like. Some of the issues that happened at the end bothered me so much that they brought the rating down, because I cannot stand a certain character that just got on my nerves. But in terms of their story and their romance, I really recommend this if you're looking for rivals to lovers, especially academic rivals to lovers. The next up is a book that I said for months that I was gonna read next month. I actually haven't read the second one, which I have to do, and that is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. I'm really sorry if I butchered her name. The premise of it sounds great, and it delivers on its promise. The adventures and the magical vibes in this book that everyone talked about, absolutely there. They're all there. I really like this book. I actually have to get the second one because I didn't think I would get so attached to the characters, but I did. That's why it's an honorable mention, because it was so much better than I expected. I was expecting something mystical and magical, and I got so much more. So definitely get this. Just in case you haven't and you're thinking about it, or it's been on your TBR for the longest time, pick it up. I gave this one 4 stars. I really don't know how long I've been talking for, but we're just gonna keep going. Next book that I'm going to talk about is one that I already briefly mentioned, and that's The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Like I mentioned, it just gave me the thrill of getting into the next thing, of finding the next clue, of opening this door and this secret cabinet here and that secret passage there. I just love that. I didn't think that I would like it as much, but I did. So if you have any recommendations like this, like the entire trilogy of the Inheritance games, let me know, because I want to read more like this. I absolutely loved it, and I needed to pick this up. The way that I was not trusting people here, and then I was trusting them again, and then not trusting them, it was scary, but it was what kept me going. So it was also a page turner. If you really feel like you would like that vibe, read this book. Also, the thing about these books, have you seen the covers? These are probably one of my favorite covers ever that I've seen in a book. Like, are you kidding? I don't even know if when I'm putting the books forward, you're able to see, but am I gonna try anyway? Yes, they're absolutely gorgeous. Oh wait, keep forgetting the ratings. I gave this one a 4.5. On to my next book, which is also a cover that I absolutely love. Just will I be able to finish this video? We'll see. Anyway, this is another cover that I absolutely love. It makes me feel like if I'm gonna hold the book, I need to be dressed up. Otherwise, I can't touch it. That is King of Wrath by Anna Huang. She's here again. Did we expect anything different? Maybe because this is just my third video and you're just getting to know me and my reading tastes. Now, you know, when you see the tabs, I'm gonna again put the book forward just in case you can't. And if you still can see it and this is all blurry and doesn't work, I'm just gonna live with the embarrassment. King of Wrath by Anna Huang was also an honorable mention because even though I really enjoyed it, it was not quite there like Twisted Lies was. But it was still so good, and I absolutely love the way she went about this trope, like the whole thing about the arranged marriage. I loved, and also the power that Vivian holds in this book. Let's just say I really love her female main characters, and Vivian especially. Also, the kind of high society vibe of this book, I absolutely love. That on top of the fact that I love books that are set in New York because they just make my heart happy. Plus, the romance between the two, I absolutely loved. I would have loved for the bonus scene to be here because that was the cutest thing ever. Also, the way these books are gonna be like stamped in a way, like the number of the book A here, which we love because there's authors that do not do this and I don't understand why. And then here, which is kind of like a stamp for the book series itself, I love. Like this cover is just absolutely pretty and the meaning behind it, you just wait. I gave this one a 4 stars. So if you like Anna Huang's books but you haven't gotten to this one, read it. I think you'll probably enjoy it. At least I hope you do. We did it. There's only one more book that I have to talk about. I really did not think I was gonna be able to finish this video. I read this first on my Kindle and then I made some annotations, and so then I got the physical copy because of how much I love the book, but I haven't annotated it yet, so I have it on my desk because I keep saying that I'll do it and then I don't, so I have to do that. Last but not least on my honorable mentions list is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. The First Order of Business. The cover of this book. If you haven't noticed by now, if I like the cover of a book, you'll probably hear about it from me. I think this is one of my favorite covers for the reads that I had for 2022. I received an ARC from NetGalley, so I read that on my Kindle, and I was not expecting how much I loved it. This was my first Kennedy Ryan book, and I now want to read more from her. This one, it was so beautiful and painful at the same time. So if you're gonna read this, check trigger warnings because it does go into a lot of heavy topics, especially concerning depression and grief. Basically how two different people deal with it in two different ways that are so incompatible, and their inability to recognize that at first is what basically ends their marriage. But I'm not gonna say any more about the plot of the book because if you want to read it, just be aware of the trigger warnings and then get into it. The romance in this book was, again, it was so beautiful and painful at the same time that I just wanted to have the physical copy so that I can read and then hug it to my chest. That's how I felt about this book. It goes a lot into how their lives changed because of depression and grief and how they each dealt with it and why it was that they had to separate. I just think this is one of those books that teaches you so much through the relationship of the characters. Something I really enjoy in romances is when they don't only have the romance as a focus but also have the characters and the issues they have to face and their struggles and what they have to go through, and we see each of their issues and then we see how they keep going together. That's what I love in a romance book, and I feel like this book encompasses that in every single way. So I would really recommend this book. Just beware, check trigger warnings, and then start reading it, because this is absolutely beautiful. Just go into it prepared and enjoy the romance, because it is something. Jealousy trope, you got it. I think that's it, unless I forget something, and then I'll just cry about it and mention it in another video or whatnot. So that was it. That was all I had for today. Those were my 5-star reads, which were only 4 books for last year. You're probably already tired of hearing me talking, so I'm just gonna end it here. Hopefully some of these books you liked as well. If you didn't and you respectfully want to let me know why, because I want to know. Let me know about the books that you love, the books that you've read, the books that you have on your TBR that I mentioned here. Let me know how you feel about them, and let me know if you tend to give out 5-star reads often, or if you actually give them very rarely, because I know there's people who do not give up 5-star reads easily. If you like this video, or you like the books that I read, or we have the same reading tastes, consider liking this video and commenting down below, or subscribing to my channel. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.